Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably already know that this is my deep dive, my year-long deep dive into the Thoth system. And the new moon has come and gone, and so I've switched out a couple of my decks, and I'll show you those in just a moment. But before we get to the decks, let me ask you if you've ever heard the phrase, snatching victory from the mouth of defeat. Now, where it looks like things are going to go wrong, but you found that trick, that thing, the person, or whatever you needed, and it became a successful venture. You won the prize. Something good happened. There's also a reversal on that phrase. Have you heard that? Snatching defeat from the mouth of victory? Have you ever experienced that? I know I have, I think. How do we do that? How do we snatch defeat from the mouth of victory? When it seems like things are going right and everything seems to be going well, how do we set ourselves up to fail? Could be a few things. A couple of things that pop into mind are perhaps we become complacent. We become so proud of ourselves that we stop doing the work that is keeping us on the track to victory, and so we fall off the path. Another thing might be our victory might start to cause people around us to become grumpy, dissatisfied, jealous, and in our attempt or our desire to make everybody happy, we find that we discover our defeat in that process. Yeah, our energy, which could have been put to good use in continuing our path to success, gets diffused, and we spend our energy, our resources, whatever it is, poorly. Have you ever experienced that? I'll bet most of us have. And if we have, this spread is perfect for us, because sometimes, even when living an intentional life, things go a little screwy. And things go screwy for a good reason. It isn't the universe or God or whatever, an evil demon screwing with us. Those things are part of our path of evolution and growth. Those moments where we've slipped off the path, where we've gone awry, are ways for us to grow and develop and become the people we want to become in order to have the experiences we want to have. And that's part of living an intentional life, right? The lessons aren't something that are, at least in my opinion, at least in my strongly held opinion, are not things that we are assigned. They're not things that we are sent here to do. We were sent here, the way I perceive it, to love, to experience joy, to experience pleasure, to experience growth and evolution and interaction and discovery and all of those wonderful things. And in order to do that and continue doing that, we want to evolve. And in order to evolve, we run up against stumbling blocks. We run up against cliffs. We fall off of cliffs. Things happen, and they happen, and they are blessings because that is how we grow. That is how we evolve. That's how we become the next better version of ourselves. If we allow ourselves to learn and grow. Now, not all of us do we? Many of us come up against those times of challenge, of apparent failure, and I don't believe there is such a thing as failure, but there are times when things don't work out the way we think that they should have worked out. We come up against those and we get very defensive, we get angry, we get resistant, and we close ourselves off from our power of intention and our ability to evolve. Do you know anyone in your life who has done that? Do you know anyone in your life who has expressed the sentiment of, well, I know everything there is for me to know. And they've stopped learning, they've stopped growing and evolving. Have you felt sad about that? That's them. That's their choice, right? We can inspire them. We can live an example of a different way of life. And if they're not interested, that's fine. That's fine. We all get to leave these bodies and start afresh, right? So, like I said, this week is, I think, going to be about snatching defeat from the mouth of victory. And that might be the title of the video. I might have just landed on the title. So, friends, what are we going to do? We have a spread all ready for us. So I will show you the spread in one shot, and then I'll talk about that a little bit. And then we'll break the spread down into parts, and then we'll focus in on the parts and we'll read the cards, okay? Are you all ready for an adventure with me? Here we go. Here are the cards. Did you notice the different decks that are in play this week? Now maybe you did, and maybe you didn't. Why might you not have? Well, the 6 cards in the center of this spread were from the same deck that I used for the center of the spread for the last lunar cycle. Yeah, this is my personally trimmed, large, inexpensive copy of the modern printing, the most recent printing of the Harris-Crowley deck that you can get on Amazon. I got it, I chopped off 3 of the borders, and now it's one of my favorite decks to use. So I decided to continue using that for another lunar cycle. Now, the other 2 decks in the spread were different. Now, the 4 cards around the central set of 6 cards are from the Millennial Thoth Tarot. Very easily purchased mass market deck. And the I-Ching Oracle cards are also from a new deck. And this I-Ching Oracle is mass market and easily available. So in the description box below, I'll have links to get the mass market I-Ching that you saw just now. You'll get a link for the Millennial Thoth, and you'll have a link for the big version of the Harris-Crowley deck. However, you won't get my trimmed version. You'll get the regular version, right? Now, what did you think of that Millennial Thoth Tarot? It's interesting. It's a redrawing of the art by Lady Frida Harris, and yet it's more computer graphic looking, right? It looks more digitally created. I don't know if you noticed, but there are also no titles on the cards, which I kind of miss. I prefer the titles. Maybe there was a copyright issue. I don't know. Most of the art is very similar. Some of the art is different. When I say the art is similar, the style is very, very different. But the elements of the card, the elements of the cards, the elements of the individual symbols are pretty much all there except for in a few cards, and one of those cards is in this week's spread, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a little bit. And yeah, so just in case you are new here, just let me give you a brief rundown of what you just saw. Now, there were 6 cards in the center, 3 on top, 3 on the bottom. The 3 on top give us the conscious things that we're thinking about in the coming week, right? Every week I ask the same question. How can we live more intentionally in the coming week? The 3 cards on top give us the conscious elements. The 3 cards on the bottom were from the unconscious or the below the surface elements of the answer to that question. Now, things we're consciously thinking of or giving our attention to, and things that are below the surface. And then there were 4 cards on the side. And it's because of these 4 cards that I call this my elemental spread. Yeah? 1 card for each of the Western elements, the 4 Western elements of fire, air, water, and earth. And then on the very, very ends, both ends, we had 2 cards from the I-Ching Oracle, and they give us the advice for this week's spread. So that's how we're going to read the spread. Now, we'll read the 3 cards on top, the 3 cards on the bottom, and then we'll read the 6 cards together in a very special way, and I'll talk about that in a little while. And then we'll look at the 4 elemental cards and then the 2 bits of advice. Okay? So, friends, we're going to start at the very top of the central set of cards, the 3 cards for the conscious aspects of this week's spread. Here they are. So you saw the 3 cards. From left to right were the 4 of Cups, the 7 of Swords, and the Queen of Discs. But if you know the way I read this spread, you'll know that we're going to begin with the center card. That's the main element of the set of 3 cards. And then the card on the left of it will be the first modifying card, and then the card on the right of the center is going to add information. Usually. Might go a little bit differently this time around. So we're going to start with the 7 of Swords. Beautiful card. Yeah, you see the central sword pointing up and 6 swords, 3 on each side, coming down and apparently attacking the central larger sword. Now, if you look at the hilts, I don't know if you can see this, but each one of the hilts has a symbol for each of the 7 classical planets. Yeah, the 7 classical planets in classical astrology are the Sun, the Moon, and then Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And there are symbols for all of those on the swords, which is beautiful as well. The central sword is, let me just remember, the central sword is the Sun, which is the central planet of our solar system, of course, but the indication for this card is not the Sun, but rather the Moon in Aquarius. Now, the Moon in Aquarius is not a natural pairing. And the Moon belongs to Cancer, which is a water sign, and so it would go in with the other water signs as well, Scorpio and Pisces. Now, the Moon would have domiciles in all 3 of those signs. It does not have a domicile in Aquarius. However, the sign of Aquarius is the domicile of Saturn. And in some ways, in some people's thinking, mine included, planets pair. The first clearest pairing is Venus and Mars, right? The lovers of the sky. The next pairing for me is Mercury and Jupiter. Yeah, kind of a mentor-mentee, but also another kind of romantic relationship is also possible depending on your proclivities. And Jupiter and Mercury go well together to me. That leaves Saturn and then the Sun and the Moon. Now the Sun and the Moon are natural pairs, which would leave Saturn off to the side. We've got the fire and the water of the Sun and the Moon as an alchemical pair. Great. However, some people will pair Saturn with the Sun and the Moon, which would mean that the Moon in Aquarius would, in a very cattywampus or circuitous way, could be the partner of Saturn in Saturn's domicile of Aquarius. Does that make any sense? If it doesn't, just pass it on. Just pass on. If it does, well then let's carry that on a little bit. So the Moon might be okay there in one of her partners' homes, and yet the Moon brings water to the air, and that is going to soften things up a little bit too much. Why? Well, according to some people who have their Moon in Aquarius are gregarious, which is wonderful. They want to make everybody happy. That's okay. They can also be rebellious and spontaneous, which are wonderful attributes for somebody to have. But Crowley points to, well, actually, Crowley says, snatching defeat from the mouth of victory for this card, which is where I got that idea. I got that idea from Crowley. Snatching defeat from on the course of our path to victory. Why? Well, could be the indication of a dreamy vision of the future that may cause us to fall asleep on our path to victory. Now that moon might lull us to sleep into that dreamy aspect that Aquarius wants to be precise, wants to be sharp, and the moon softens Aquarius a little bit too much, perhaps. Or the moon may cause Aquarius to try to appease others, to make other people happy, to compromise. Yeah, and in doing that, trying to make too many people happy, they start to vacillate. They start to become wishy-washy with their passive diplomacy because of perhaps the moon. And so there's the problem of that, yeah? Instead of being, again, sharp and on point, there's this wishy-washiness of trying to make everybody happy, which isn't going to work. And they can eventually become prey of others as well because they lack their focus. And Crowley suggests, especially at these times, don't throw bad money after good. Yeah? Which means don't try to improve a bad situation by tossing more money at it or tossing more resources at it at this time. That's not going to help things. It's just going to make things worse at best. So we've got this idea of sharp brain, mind diffused on its path to victory and therefore losing its potential. And right next to it, right next to this card, we had this, what I think of as a beautiful card. Personally, you see the Four of Cups, right? You see the 4 cups there on these beautiful brass stands. We've got water flowing down, a plethora of water. I think this is a beautiful card. You see the water below the cups is a beautiful color of blue. I love the water down there. The sky is gray, yes. But I don't know about you, I like gray skies. Yeah, true. 365 days of gray sky would be oppressive, but frankly, for me, 365 days of sunny sky is oppressive. I've lived near Los Angeles and I did not like it. I did not like living in Southern California because you open the door and another day of sun. What the heck? Where's the snow? Where's the rain? Where's the break in this pounding sunlight? So I like I like the moon too, yeah. But here we've got, what do we have? We've got the moon in Cancer, its natural home. So we have cardinal waters, vital attributes entering the answer to our question of how we can live life more intentionally in the coming week. And the moon in Cancer is a very good thing, but in this case, it looks to me like the moon in both of these cards is causing too much squishy softness for what we want. Now, the moon here is adding lunar energy to the Seven of Swords, softening things, making us less capable of moving in the direction that our intention is pointing us towards. And it's interesting because the way Crowley talks about the Four of Cups is very similar to the Seven of Swords. Now Crowley says, despite success, don't succumb to the feeling of accomplishment. Wake up and work. So there's that idea of falling asleep, but we want to wake up here. We might be headed for an emotional dead end as well. This is like we've come, and the title for this card is Luxury, right? The title for this card was Futility. The futility of trying to make everybody happy, or the futility of what happens when we fall asleep because we become too complacent. Here in the Seven of Swords, here we have luxury. Now, luxury is not a bad thing, right? Luxury can have a lot of, especially in modern English, a lot of good connotations, living the life of luxury. But Crowley is using that word in the more puritanical sense of luxury, living a luxurious life, as a criticism. Yeah? So despite success, that feeling of accomplishment puts us to sleep, deadens us. And it may cause us to reach an emotional dead end because we fill ourselves up and stop and plop, right? And Crowley indicates that the water in this card points to an instability rather than a stability. Fours are strong cards. Now they're stable. They have foundation. They have form. They're difficult to move. And yet, for Crowley, because this is a water card, the water cannot form a structure, and so it's weak. It weakens the fours. Which is not true of the other receptive card, Earth. Earth, we can build strong fortresses out of Earth, right? The Four of Earth is a very strong card. It's power. Here, the Four of Cups, it's luxury and it's mushy and splishy and spills all over the place. There's no stability here. So Crowley says, enjoy luxury, but don't take it for granted, because it begins to escape the moment we begin consuming it. The moment we begin enjoying the luxury, it starts to, like water seeping through the cracks. So both of these cards together point to that, we have the potential for success right now, but we have an equally strong potential to mess it up. Because we're too soft, we're too watery, we're too scattered, we're too lunar. This is not the time for lunar energy. And so because these cards, we have air, right? Air here and water here. Air and water, they're fine together. They don't build each other up, they don't tear each other down, they're simpatico, in a sense. However, the next card, the third card. Now the third card is a queen. And the queens of all decks, the queen that I love the most is always the Queen of Swords, because of who I see the Queen of Swords as being. That fiercely independent, clever, smart person, which I would like to become. However, as far as artwork goes, in the Harris-Crowley deck, the queen that I love the most is not the Queen of Swords. It's not the Queen of Wands. It's a really powerful card, but no, it's not that. And it's definitely not the Queen of Cups, because the artwork in the Queen of Cups is beautiful, but it's almost impossible to see the queen herself. This queen, I think, is the best. I love this queen. I love the way she looks. I love the way she's dressed. I love the environment she's in. You see this broad span of grassy land, and grassy not in the sense of Irish or English grass that a lot of us have tried to import into the United States, sometimes very poorly, but that kind of California grass, or perhaps African grass, where it's grass that grows in clumps here and there, but is vibrant and it's healthy and it's beautiful here as well, I think. So the Queen of Discs, this is water of earth, which is wonderful, because water and earth support each other. I don't want to say they build each other up like fire and air build each other up, but they do strengthen each other in a way. So, what am I trying to say? The central card for this week's spread was this card, right? Air. Air and earth are natural enemies. Now they interfere with each other. The next card was this one, right? Earth and water, they build each other up as well. Now we had the earth and water as being the queen of earth, queens being water, discs being earth. There's the strength there. But also, these two cards can build each other up as well. So what does that mean? Well, let's start with the Queen of Discs herself, right off the bat. The Queen of Discs is Cancer. Not Cancer, I'm sorry. It's Capricorn. Capricorn. Whose natural planet, it's the domicile of Saturn. Now that Saturn that was missing here. We got Saturn right here. That strength, that clarity is here, from which cardinal Earth's vital attributes enter our world. So we've got cardinal Earth here, and we've got cardinal water here. So perhaps the cardinal Earth here can help compensate for the problems of the Four of Cups here, can add more structure, can add more stability. Now, Crowley gives hexagrams for all of the court cards, and the hexagram for the Queen of Discs is hexagram 31, which is influence, going forward without attack. Yeah? Reaching out, joining things, and allowing self to be, and also allowing oneself to be moved. Yeah, you reach out, you join people together, you join resources together, you go forward without running over anybody or fighting anybody, and you allow yourself to be moved when that is appropriate. You're not insanely stubborn that you won't allow yourself to change your mind or change direction. So for Crowley, this is taking stock. See what grows and then nurture it. Take experience, incorporate it, test it, apply it. Experience what's going on in the world and both use it, incorporate it, experience it, apply it, test it, but also test it out. Don't take it for granted. She is the voice of common sense in all of us. Males, in male bodies, in female bodies, in trans bodies, in cis bodies, in intersex bodies. We all have queens of discs within us. And this Capricorn aspect is what will help overcome the problems of especially this card. And this card, where we had that recommendation to wake up and work. Well, here we go. Here's waking up and working. Moving forward, where the Seven of Swords would not move forward, this card will move forward. This card moves forward without bothering anybody else. Just keeps going ahead, like a good Capricorn does. Congenially, like a good Capricorn does. Even though Saturn is in there. Saturn is in there creating boundaries, creating borders, creating this is right, this is not right, but not doing it in such a way that you're alienating people around you. And so, whereas the Seven of Swords was trying to make everybody happy, the Queen of Discs knows that I don't have to make everybody happy, I just don't want to bother them. I'll just keep doing what I need to do. I'll keep awake and keep working. And that solves the problems of this, and this card interferes with the problems of this. It gives stability to this, which will prevent us from having that squishiness of luxury that it could be what causes our defeat. Does that make sense? So we've got a wonderful solution right here in these three cards, right? We see the problem, but we also see the solution very easily available in our conscious minds. And we're about to jump to the unconscious or below the surface level, and that might give us a clue as to why this is going on in the first place, right? So let's take a look at those three cards right now. Friends, here in the bottom section of the 6 central cards, in the unconscious or the below the surface area, we have from left to right the 6 of Swords, the Lust card, which has appeared a few times already, and then the Queen of Swords. Again, my favorite card in the deck for all decks, but for the Harris-Crowley, not my favorite image of the Queen, frankly. It's not because it's disturbing so much, but it's just so, it lacks the energy that I like to see or imagine in the Queen of Swords. And we'll get to that in just a moment. We begin with the central card, and that central card here is lust. Lusty, lusty, lust, which would be strength in other decks, right? And we see this beautiful woman stripped of all concealing clothing on the back of the beast of 7 heads, and we talked about those 7 heads in a previous video. We're not going to talk about them this time so much because we've covered that before. She's holding up the grail, and from the grail they sprout 7 beams of light which kind of look like snakes according to some people. And therefore this, actually there are 11. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. According to someone, there are 11. Yeah, which gives us the tree of life, the number for the tree of life, which is 10, plus that missing sephirah of dot. If you add that in, that becomes 11. So these are nascent or seeds for a newly emergent tree of life, according to some people. We see that the association here is Leo, which is the domicile of the sun, from which fixed fire's vital attributes enter our world, enter our spread. Now, this entire spread is very heavily pointed towards swords, air. We got 1 cup in there, we got 1 earth in there, we got a whole bunch of swords, and we got a couple of wands in the elemental suit. But you could say that this adds fire to the central spread, right? Being fixed fire here. So even though it's not a wands card, we can still get fire into this portion of this entire spread. And lust connects chesed with Geburah. Chesed, which is loving mercy, with Geburah, which is severity and justice. The severity of justice, let's say. And so we got the loving mercy aspect and then the severe justice aspect of the tree of life. And some people liken those two as the hands of the tree of life. These are the 2 sephirah which start to shape energy into the movement into material manifestation, if that makes sense. So that joining of both love and justice, of kindness and severity, is here in lust. The Hebrew letter associated with this is Teth, which is new life. Also serpent, which I guess echoes the serpents which some people see at the top of the card. We also have the rune Hargaz here, which is destruction. The destruction of nature. Nature as a destructive force. And because of it, it's also the unpredictable force of both nature and the unconscious. Forces that we can't really control and can't really predict are here in the lust card, which kind of makes sense, right? That even our libido, when we think of lust and libido in the unconscious, it can take us by surprise. And it is very powerful. It's a force of nature, right? So we get that here too. But we also get the joy of strength exercised, according to Crowley. Yeah, our strength, when we put that strength into, and again, lust is the strength card, strength into action, we can enjoy that, right? If we are open, if we're open to using and to having access to our power of intention, when we add our own power to that, it's a joyful experience, it's a burst of joyful energy to act in the world. Now, if we're closed off to the power of intention and we try to add force into that, there's a lot of resistance to what we're doing, and that's not so much that. But this is the joyful, free use of libido in the broadest sense of the word libido, not only as sexual, but as in our power, our life force, the fire of the wands. Our libido, freely, joyfully put into action. And here we get the decision that will bring the most delight rather than one that seems to make the most sense. Like going for the joy of what we're doing rather than the logic of what we're doing. So we have energy, we have action, we have sex, and all those together can create magic. We have our drive and our passion, our classically understood non-Freudian libido, which is our unconscious energetic force. Not necessarily sexual, although sexuality is part of that. It's a beautiful card. You see her riding the beast, holding the glorious light of the chalice of what do we call that again? It's the Grail, the Holy Grail. And this is right beneath that Seven of Swords. So this is below the surface, our success. We have the central power for our success if we don't fall into the trap of the Seven of Swords joined with the Four of Cups. If we allow our Queen of Discs to win the day, we have the inner power to do what we want to do, right? Now in the bottom, we had this card, Fire, in the center, surrounded by two air cards. And fire and air both feed each other. There's a lot of power here below the surface, which may cause us to either succeed even more brilliantly or fail even more brilliantly. You know what I mean? So the next card we're going to look at, joined to the Sun in Leo, is this card, which is the Six of Swords, Science. And here we have Mercury in Aquarius. Now Mercury in Aquarius gives us the Gemini decadent of Aquarius, which would be the second decadent of Aquarius, from which the mutable aspect of fixed air's vital attributes enter our world. Mercury mutable, Aquarius fixed, the mutable aspect of fixed air's vital attributes enter our world. So we got fixed air softened a little bit, made a little bit more active, made a little bit more clever with Mercury. And that adds a little bit of intelligence to this card of fire and creativity and joy, of strength exercised, which can be destructive, and a little bit unpredictable. New life. Here we've got mind entering as a compatriot, with the mutable aspect of fixed air's vital attributes entering the question, and so the requirement of measured evaluation and an approach helpful to a problem. Now we want to be clever. We want to be measured and take stock of what's going on. The Queen of Discs also takes stock of what's going on, right? With Saturn in Capricorn, Mercury in Aquarius does that too. Take time and observe what's going on and what's not. What is growing? What is not growing? What patterns are connected and what patterns are not connected? And perhaps feed those things that are growing and feed those connections. And those things that are not connected, don't waste time on it. Again, remember, don't throw money at bad money at good. Here we have, if things aren't connected, let's set them aside. Don't waste your attention on them. Be realistic, even if it's difficult. And still have an adaptable spirit, because Mercury is adaptable. We want adaptability. We want our intelligence to win ourselves towards our goal. Supporting this card, supporting Leo, supporting that creative fire, and being clever about it. And so how do we add to that? We add to this with the Queen of Swords here, which is water of air. Now, water and air, they're okay together. Yeah, they don't build each other up. They don't tear each other down. They're simpatico, like earth and fire are simpatico, right? We just said that above with the Seven of Swords and the Four of Cups. Yeah, so water of air is okay. And in this card, we've got Libra, which is the domicile of Venus, from which cardinal air's vital attributes enter our world. So we had fixed and mutable air here, and we've got the addition of cardinal air here, so we got a full range of potential thought capabilities available to us working with our powerful vital forces from within. The hexagram associated with the Queen of Swords is hexagram 28, which is the hexagram of transitions, not traditions, transitions, where structures are dissolved and principles are reordered. Yeah, it's the melting away of things that are old and the restructuring of things is possible here, which is a kind of Queen of Swords thing to do, I suppose. Yeah. Cutting energy is needed to release from initial constraints. The Queen cuts open the bonds which bind. She takes a hard decision at the right time. She weighs up variables and the consequences, and she acts on them. Like a good Libran might do. This card asks for a cool-headed approach when doing things, and especially when we have that sense of striking when the fire is hot, yeah, taking an opportunity, but doing it cool-headedly, not with the fire passion of yes, but rather yes. You sense that difference, right? The cool-headed approach to striking when the fire is hot, when the opportunity appears and reveals itself, yes, now, rather than yeah, right? So, this is interesting because we don't get much Venusian attributes. We don't get many Venusian attributes described by Crowley here with Libra, which would be people getting along, the beauty of our thoughts, enjoying the thinking process, the joining of thoughts together. And he points to the Queen of Swords doing the smart thing, doing the clever thing, rethinking things, even after having cut off the head of the person who has been criticizing or has been speaking up and being irritating, cutting the head off, and then taking stock of what's actually going ahead, what's going on. You see the Queen here is lounging on this throne with her sword dangling over the side, and this, what could be a mask or could be a severed, melting head held by the hair in her hands, right? So perhaps she's beheaded this guy. Off with his head. And then she thinks, but then again, what was he talking about? Oh, maybe he had a point anyways. Well, okay, I'll take the point, get rid of the guy. You know? So, there's a clarity and an independence and doing what she wants, but also being willing to change, to reform, to rethink what she has been holding in her mind. Right? So both of these attributes with the fiery, passionate lust card down in the center add a nice balance of thoughtfulness and clarity and cutting away the unnecessary, especially with the Queen of Swords, being able to make the hard decisions, being realistic with the Six of Swords, analyzing what is successful and feeding that and letting the rest go. All good characteristics to add on to the beautiful lust card in the center. So what's going on below the surface is very powerful. And we've got the energy down there if we just don't let ourselves get interfered with. Now, where's that interference coming from? It's probably coming from ourselves. That's probably the primary source of our interference, by trying to do those things. And we'll talk about those in just a moment. So, what are we going to do now? Let me show you how we're going to read these 6 cards again. And we're going to look at them again in a very special way. And I'll show you a picture that gives you a list of the cards that we're going to read in the new grouping. And then we'll talk about that, okay? Here is that picture. I hope it's helpful. So did that picture make sense? We're going to start off with the first grouping, which has the 7 of Swords as its primary, as its focus. Yeah? And then we'll add on the 6 of Swords and the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords and the 6 of Swords. So, again, 7 of Swords, right? Our futility. Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Why? What's up with that? Or what do we have that will help us with overcoming that potential pitfall? Well, one thing that will help us with that pitfall is the 6 of Swords right before it, right? And did you notice that we had Aquarius, the Moon in Aquarius, and Mercury in Aquarius? So Mercury in Aquarius is going to be helpful for us here. Yeah, we instead of falling asleep, we can use that mental energy we have within ourselves, within our unconscious, within our selves, to do that work of taking time and observing what's going on and focusing on the stuff that's growing, that is working, that is connected, and letting the rest go. Right? Using our innate intelligence to win the goal. Because we've got it there. Instead of focusing on those people around or on this dreamy vision of what could be, we want to focus on where we are and where we're going. And the 6 of Swords helps with that. And so does the Queen of Swords, right? The Queen of Swords, who is able to cut out the rest of the bullshit that we might be giving our attention to. Make the hard decisions and keep moving forward. Cool-headedly. Not freaking out. Nor trying to make everybody happy either, like the Moon wants to do. Just cut through the bullshit and keep going forward. And if that requires taking a head or two on the way, we might do that, but that's only to release ourselves from whatever constraint that head has been placing upon us. Right? So we've got this set of cards, all air cards. The 2 cards from within are here helping us with the difficulty of the card that is in our conscious sphere. The 7 of Swords, of futility. Feeling attacked from all corners, perhaps. Trying to make everybody happy. And those corners might be from within, but right now I think the within section is pretty strong. So it might be environmental, that we're an environmental contrariness that we're trying to appease in one way or another. So we had those 3 cards, and we're going to look at the next 3 cards. I'm sorry if I just bumped the microphone. I don't know if you heard that. I bet you did. The next 3 cards, we focus on lust, both from below. So what in our environment is connected to our libido with the fixed fire? And we'll notice that one card is going to be in conflict and one card is going to be okay. Yeah, let's start with the card in conflict, which is this card. Well, no, let's start with, what is this? Okay, so lust. Talk about lust for just a second. Let's get a reminder. It's a joy of strength exercised. Now, our energy, our action, our sex magic, we got it all there. It's here within us. And yet, we've got the luxury card. Now, the sun, the moon. The sun in Leo, the moon in Cancer. And here, the moon in Cancer elementally is an enemy of the sun in Leo. So that luxury here is dampening our inner fire. That lack of structure and lack of boundaries is not helping either. And that fire within might be so weakened by this card that we could end up really heading towards an emotional dead end, where that which drives us is doused to smoldering embers. And yet we do have another card there, a card that could help. Yeah, the Queen of Discs, water of earth. Now the water aspect is not so great, but earth, Capricorn with Saturn actually can help Leo, the sun in Leo. Not as strongly as an air card might or another fire card might, but this card here is, like I often say, simpatico. So, going forward without attacking, our ambition usefully directed will help this overcome this. Which is interesting because actually water and earth, like I said, work well together. And yet in this case, the water energy here is, the water attributes here are not helping us. The earthen attributes, the work, the physicality is helping us here. So we can use this attribute of ourselves, our conscious Queen of Discsness, to give concrete form and structure and nurtures the fire within, as well as we also nurture those around us and nurture the things that we are working on. We don't just nurture other people, we nurture the projects we're working on. We nurture the health of ourselves and our family. We nurture the creative, the work we are doing in the world. We nurture our finances as well. But here, I think we're nurturing the things we're working on with the Queen of Discs right here, and Capricorn, moving to succeed. Even though we do have that pitfall, it's not here, that pitfall of the Seven of Swords as the central card. Does that make sense? So friends, we've got a group of 4 elemental cards to look at right now. We'll look at those right now. Here they are. You just saw the 4 elemental cards, and let's look at them briefly in clockwise order, starting from the upper left. With the 8 of Swords, you saw that. A lot of swords in this deck. In this spread. Then we have the Ace of Wands, finally some fire, obvious fire. And then we have the 7 of Swords, more swords. And then we have the 6 of Wands, a little bit more fire. So in the elemental section of this spread, we had 2 wands and 2 swords, 2 air, 2 fire. And none of them were actually in their proper spots. Like there was not a wands card in the fire section, and there wasn't a swords card in the air section, but both the fire and the air, again, build each other up, add strength to each other, which I think is going to be very helpful for us, particularly now when that seems to be, we've got the fire, we've got it within, but we're not expressing it in the world. Or we have the potential of not expressing it in the world. And that's what we want to do, I believe. So we're going to start off with our fire element. And in that fire element, we had the Eight of Swords. Now, if you'll notice, this card is very similar in style, very similar in, no, I don't want to say style, not artistic style, very similar in conception as Lady Frida Harris's card. It's very differently styled, right? It looks very computer graphic to me. But we've got basically the same elements here. We are lacking the title, which is sad. But we do, and it's going to be difficult for you to see, but we do have here Jupiter up above, and we have Gemini down here, but we also have Jupiter and Gemini in the hilts of the two central swords that are pointing down. Jupiter and Gemini is not a natural pair. However, Mercury in Gemini is a natural pair, so Jupiter is in the home of his partner Mercury in Gemini. Could think of it that way. And we have opportunities to clear understandings here. For people with Jupiter in Gemini, that's a good thing a good attribute that they have. They can clear understandings. They can open their minds to alternatives as well, which is great, especially if it were in the air part of the spread. But being in the fire part, it's okay. However, here we've got the idea of a divided mind. Even if it appears to progress, it might be on the verge of coming undone. Which kind of is the whole spread that we just talked about, right? Now we got this fire. In the fire element, we got fire within, and yet our minds are perhaps cracking apart because we're focusing on too many people, or we're softening ourselves up with the water of luxury. Our minds are divided. They're not on point, like a good Saturnian should be. The Jupiter adds too much expansiveness to Gemini. And Crowley suggests we might want to be aware that others might cause us problems with our plans. And that idea has popped up a couple of times in this week's spread. So we're asked to take time to work out what's happening. Another indication to take the time to focus on to analyze, to see what's really going on. Who's dragging their feet? Who is diverting the issue or getting in the way? Is that person another person, or is it ourselves? Are we dragging our feet? Are we getting in our own way? Are we diverting the issue? That's another thing to think about. We want to be good-natured when good nature... We want to be good-natured, but sometimes good nature is disastrous. Calling to mind that we want to have that Queen of Swords-ness within ourselves. Expansive optimism and being able to see both sides of an argument are causing interference patterns like ripples or particles through a double-blind experiment of shooting particles, where if we don't measure where the particles are going through, they cause an interference pattern, which means what? Waves, ripples on ponds, yeah? When they meet each other, they cause an interference pattern. Now, we drop one stone here, we drop one stone here. There are two sets of waves that go out from there, right? So what happens when those waves meet? Well, the troughs, the down part, when the down parts meet and line up, they drop doubly down. When the up parts meet, they go up doubly. But when a trough meets a crest, they cancel each other out and they become flat. Does that make sense? So there's an additive and a subtractive interference nature to waves, and also waves, energetic waves like particles going through a double slit blind test. My English is not coming out well, but I hope you know what I mean. It's a physics experiment. Anyways, so we could be, like I said, we could be getting in our own way, according to this. And this card, which could be, the air could be building our fire up, is here. This is spreading our fire out rather than building it up, if that makes sense. So this is a little bit of a problem. And we're going to go to air next. Let's go to air next. Air, what's happening in our air? We have the Ace of Wands. Beautiful card. Now this is the card of the 4 that we're seeing in this spread. That is very different from the card drawn by Lady Frida Harris. Because here, we see a single wand. But in Lady Frida Harris's card, we see the wand, the flames on the wand coming out very much like a tree of life. I don't get that from this. The rest of the elements are here. We got the wand, we got the crackling energy in the background. It's all there. We lack the tree of life symbolism in this one card, which I find disappointing. But this is still the root of will. Potential growth, but it's up to us to grasp this wand and make stuff happen. So in our air section, we're reminded that, yeah, we've got potential, but it's up to us. We have unlimited energy for a potential project or for a potential relationship or something to develop, but it requires our commitment to bring it into reality, which is wonderful and we can do, but right now we have the potential to not do that, right? With that 7 of Swords and the 4 of Cups. There's a flash of inspiration, perhaps, from the Lust card from below, but if we don't nurture it, it will die out. So there's a pure potential which could go anywhere and do anything if we will nurture it. So that's what's happening in our mental sphere, is that potential, the spark is there. But we gotta keep on it, right? And the next card that we get, did you notice that already? We had, yes, and I mentioned it. I don't know if you caught on, but yes, we had another 7 of Swords in the water area. And water and air are not problems. They don't fight with each other. And yet, in our emotional area, we do have that sense of futility. Snatching defeat from the mouth of victory. And so it seems to be that it's our emotional sphere that has the potential for getting in our way because we want to make everybody happy, or we're so happy with what we've already got that we stop doing the work. Now we get dreamy about the future and we don't focus, we lose our focus. So we got 2 pitfalls in 2 antagonistic areas of this spread, which is the 6 of Swords the 8 of Swords. The 8 of Swords in fire, and then the 7 of Swords in air. Fire and air, the elements are conflicting. We have we have the divided mind, and we have a dreamy mind in fire and water, which does not bode well for this Ace of Wands in the air side, right? But let's take a look at what's going on in the earth. Where's our concrete? Where's our body? Where's our work going? We have a beautiful card here. 6 of Wands, victory. Now we have Jupiter in Leo here, right? Yes, we have Jupiter in Leo in this card. It's a little difficult to see. But there's Leo right there, and there's Jupiter up here too. So, yes, we have Jupiter in Leo, which is wonderful. And fire being in the earth side, they're fine. They don't fight with each other. They don't build each other up, but they don't fight with each other. But it's interesting because because we have Jupiter in Leo, which would be the Sagittarius decadent of Leo, which gives us the mutable aspect of fixed fire, vital attributes entering our world. We also have the complement of the Sun, Leo's planet, being in Capricorn, the queen of discs. So, the Six of Wands, I think, also emphasizes and adds strength to that Queen of Discs card we had in the upper right-hand part of the 6-card spread. So what does the Six of Wands tell us about? It tells us about victory won or that will be won. So in our work, if we keep working, we have and will have victory, success. But still, we don't want to get carried away with it, right? Just as we didn't want to get carried away with the Six of Swords either. We don't want to get carried away with it. We want to celebrate knowing that it will pass and keep doing the work. So Crowley says that we are to hold ourselves as we are to be able to continue to be victorious. Yeah, we keep walking in the same direction as we have this experience of victory on the path, but we keep going and doing the same thing, and we will continue to have victories down the path. Rise to meet our true work here. Now, this victory can lead to unpredictable developments if we don't keep to our task, keep to our work, keep opening ourselves and flowing forward with the power of intention. Yeah, if we let this victory distract us with, like, the Four of Cups in luxury or the Seven of Swords in of futility, then we got problems again. But we've got so much potential here, echoed over and over in this entire spread of keep on point, keep going. Everything's will be going well. You've got the energy, we got the power, we got the fire. Just don't let it get drowned or diffused or unfocused. Right? Does that make sense? So friends, we've got 2 cards of advice from the I-Ching. Let's take a look at those 2 cards, because I think this is going to be very interesting. Here they are. What do you think of the artwork in this deck? Do you recall the artwork in the I-Ching deck that I used in the last lunar cycle, the previous lunar cycle? Which one do you prefer? I like them both in different ways. This deck has very muted art. It's 3-tone art, right? Black, sepia, and white, off-white. And yet there's an antique beauty to the artwork in this deck. Now there's a beauty to the other deck as well, and that's why I recommended it, and hope that you will be able to get a copy of it along with the new guidebook that's being published. Hopefully you've joined on with the Kickstarter for that deck. I hope. But there's a beauty to these cards as well. I love this deck. I've used it before. The backs are also, I love the fall quality of these backs too. I think it's just a gorgeous deck. It's mass market, easily available, easily shuffleable. It's glossy. That's sometimes a problem. I hope that you're able to see the images okay here if I do this. But it's a gorgeous deck. And we had 2 hexagrams, right? Hexagram 53 and hexagram 36. They joined together to give us advice. And hexagram 53 is gradual development. Yeah, we got that a lot during the spread, right? And hexagram 36 is the darkening of the light, which doesn't sound too good. But actually it's not so bad. It's actually not so bad. we'll get there in just a moment. Let's start with hexagram 53, gradual development, which is wind above the mountains. Now, the wind going over the mountains sounds kind of fast to me, and yet the title of this hexagram is gradual development. This hexagram tells us that any expectation of rapid growth is unrealistic. So we want to stay the course. But we got a lot of indications of that in this week's spread. Slowness gives an endeavor strength, like a tree growing. A tree, well, okay, except for a bamboo. Bamboo's a little different, but think of other trees. Oh, what do you know about bamboo? Bamboo, they will take forever to grow. The first, well, it depends on where do you live? Do you work in feet or meters? Let's say the first 9 inches, or the first, I don't know, what would that be in centimeters? It would be about, let's say 20 centimeters, maybe. I don't know, I'm just pulling numbers out of the air. Anyways, the first little bit, it takes forever for it to get that much growth. And then, suddenly, almost overnight, the entire thing springs up. Like a 6-foot-high bamboo will spring up over a couple of days. I'm exaggerating, but still, comparatively, it's like that. So this is not that. This is like an oak tree, or an elm tree, or even a pine tree, right? A tree that grows too quickly has too thin of a trunk and will fall over and die. Yeah? We want our trees, our endeavors to grow slowly, to develop strength, breadth, as well as height. So take time to gather resources, influence people, and plan well, like a good Queen of Discs would do. Our high aspirations will be achieved, like a good Queen of Discs, Capricorn, is very happy to do that, right? High aspirations will be achieved, but at the proper season. Don't rush it. Cherish every step of the journey. That's what's being... What am I? Have I been showing you the backs? I'm so sorry. Now, this is the... Oh, brother. So yes, hexagram 53. Take it slow. Plan. Keep on going. Don't rush. And then we have hexagram 36, which kind of looks like that tree, right? But it's the darkening of light. It's earth over fire. So we think of fire smoldering underneath the ground, maybe. Interestingly, in the Christian traditions, we would generally say, don't hide your candle under a bushel. In this card, it's suggested that we do conceal our inner light to survive the dark times. Don't expose the light to the dark. Don't draw attention to yourself in the dark. Work quietly and show compliance. Be compliant to people around. Don't do things that are unethical. Don't break your own code, but don't fight or struggle either. Thus, strength is reserved for future success. Instead of fighting with other people now when it's avoidable, be complacent and save that energy for the future. Hidden truths are yet to be revealed. So maintain patience and resilience, trusting your intuition, following the course. Don't be bothered by what's going on around you. Don't fight against things. And don't let your flame burst forth right now because it isn't the time. So both of these cards together, what do we get? Slow and steady wins the race. Don't stick your nose into other people's business. Don't stand up and shout the victories that you're experiencing. Just keep on going. Now, hiding your light doesn't mean like cower in the darkness either. It's just don't stick your candle up in the middle of the dark, because this isn't the time. Don't show off and brag and be the life of the party. This isn't the time. This is the time to sit back and watch and observe and wait for the proper time. Because right now, the energy we expend will not be to our benefit or the benefit of whatever project it is that we're focusing on. But keep going. Keep going. Doesn't that seem like perfect advice for this entire spread? I'm thrilled, satisfied, pleased by the way this entire spread worked out. Are you? I hope you are. So friends, that's the end of this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? What do you think of this journey through Thoth? Is it interesting? Do you have other ways that you would read these cards? We can all learn together, right? So let me know in the comments below. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Those who do that, I deeply, deeply appreciate you. It helps the channel. It really does. Subscribe if you have not subscribed, and hit the alarm bell to get notifications, because this semester, my schedule of putting out the videos, I'm going to try my best to do my regular number of videos, but they're not going to all be going up the same regular day as they have been, because my schedule is a little bit wonky this semester. So get the notifications, hit the alarm bell. And if you want a private reading from me, my email address is below. thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Shoot me an email, we'll get you a reading. Okay, friends? Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for walking this journey with me. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.